What's up, hobby friends, and welcome to the first in a series of vlog videos, which I will use every month to basically give you a rundown of the status of my current projects, give you an overview of what I'm working on, and what I've got planned ahead. So let's dive on into this month's video. So I'm going to go ahead and pull you into this corner where I've pretty much got all of my projects and armies being stored. So anything that's usually painted, I want to showcase is in my cabinets. I've got a bunch of cases and bins here. So this is my carrying case for my KO. I've got some Marvel terrain, and then my painted Necrons, Blood Angels, as well as my Nighthawk are in storage. These are most of the infantry and just stuff that I don't want to cram up my cabinets with. I've got some assorted AOS and 40k terrain. And then over here, get the camera to focus. So what I'm currently working on right now, this has been a bit of a nostalgia year for me, both for better or worse, I guess. So something I've been working on for the past, 6 months or a year now. I picked up the Seraphon box when it came out. I'm not sure if it was last year or the year before. This, along with Bretonnians, which I'll touch on in a bit, have always been armies that I've wanted to collect since the days of Warhammer Fantasy. When I first got into Warhammer, the start of 6th edition, the Lizardman vs. Bretonnian box was the first starter, or the starter set that was being released for the edition. And my painting skills never really allowed me to pick up Bretonnians, and the Lizardman models back then didn't really appeal to me. But the new stuff is phenomenal, and I think it's a great opportunity for me to collect an army that I've always wanted to have. So I've got a little over 2,500 points, depending on what you take. So this is my 2K, and I've got basically Star Master and Starseer already painted. I've got some Raptidon Chargers, 10 of them, Terror Wings, a couple of heroes, so Astrolith, Saurus Guard, and a Priest. I've got 20 Saurus Guard. I also have 10 Chameleons, 10 Skinks, 10 Saurus Guard, and 12 Temple Guard, along with the Forbidden Power and the Temple. I still need to finish the Riders for the Raptidons, which are over here. I've just been distracted by other projects as of late, which I'll just talk on in a minute. And then over here in the cabinet, I have a Lord Croak and one more Saurus hero. I believe he's from the Shadespire crew. So I was originally planning to actually get the entire Seraphon collection painted by like early mid-July, but that has been sort of waylaid by a couple of other projects. So let's take you to this second cabinet here. So I started playing Warhammer Fantasy back in 6th edition, and my first army for that game was my Vampire Counts. And I played them exclusively up until 8th edition. So we're talking like 4 or 5, maybe 6 years of just nothing but Vampire Counts. Unfortunately, I did sell the army when I moved back from Vegas, and this would have been 2016, 2017. A part of me does regret selling it. I don't know where I would have stored it. I needed the money at the time, and I wasn't really playing any Old World, since they had basically killed the game of fantasy. Games Workshop released a new Soulblight box, which I've picked up. And like I mentioned, Bretonnians have always been one of the armies I wanted to paint, but never did because my ability as a painter, I never felt was up to par. And then by the time I was confident enough and ready to actually do the army, they end times Warhammer Fantasy. So I'm going to take this opportunity to basically paint up a new Vampire Counts army as undead Bretonnians. And the goal here is to basically convert every single model to be a knight or some sort of man-at-arms and paint unique heraldry on every single figure. So I'll have more videos on this army in the future, but for now, just as an overview, you can see that I've given all of my guys these kite shields. I've converted them all with these sort of straight long swords or broadswords. On some of these true blades, I've given some of them longer great swords, and really the theme is to get them looking like this sort of medieval look, almost like an English style. I found these shields and swords STLs online, and then the salad helms I think are from my kit. Their head pack, I think, may be designed for Trench Crusade or like Trench Crusade adjacent. It's this sort of medieval meets steampunk slash black powder theme. They had like gas mask variants. They had these very sci-fi goggles and stuff on them. So it definitely wasn't a fantasy set, but scaled down to about 80%. I think these ones work perfectly for these figures. So I'm really looking forward to working on this. I think it'll be great to flex my freehanding skill. And then I can record a bunch of tutorials that break down tackling complex freehand by using really basic shapes and just tackling all these different unique colors will keep the army interesting to me. I'll touch on this case in a minute, but I want to pivot to the army that's actually sort of been drawing a lot of my focus and attention. So Space Wolves, for me, was the first army that I ever collected, and it's actually what got me into Games Workshop and Warhammer as a whole. I still have the first codex I ever bought, the Space Wolves book from 3rd edition 40k. They have always had a special place in my heart, and throughout my history as a hobbyist, I think I've done no less than 3 full Space Wolf armies for 40k. Of considerable size. I believe my first one was probably around like 4,000 points. My second army would have been probably around like 3,000 points. And then my third army was probably close to 8,000 or 9,000 points. Now that's, would have been 2,000, probably 2004, 2005. And then again in 2012, 2013. My friends and I were doing a Horse Heresy event in the fall of this year. And we're almost all doing brand new armies and legions, and I have chosen to do Space Wolves. So what I've got here, and much like with the Soul Blight, I'll dive into it in future videos, but basically I've got my 4,000 points of Space Wolves. So here, Rhinos, some Deathsworn, a Command Squad, and some Laser Rapiers. This would be Recon Marines. I've got like 20 Seekers converted. I printed up some STLs to modify all of the bolters and give them all like unique bits and stuff. I've got 20 Greystalkers with a variety of combat arms because they don't make plastic Mark III. So I ended up printing those. And then some rotor cannons. I've got a heavy support squad. I'm running the Pale Hunter Rite of War, which only gives me 1 heavy support slot, so I've chosen this squad because they look cool. And they remind me of Long Fangs. And then I've got a Praetor and a couple of Wolf Priests, or Speakers of the Dead, Keepers of the Dead, to give some hatred to my army. I also have 3 Javelins with Las Cannons and Multi-Meltas. And because we're playing 4,000 points, we have a couple of house rules that we're enforcing. No Primarchs, minimum of, or maximum of 1 Dreadnought for every 1,000 points, and that's a Dreadnought of any type, not Talon, but Dreadnought model. So you only allow 1 Contemptor, or 1 Leviathan, or 1 Daredale per 1,000 points, so 4 maximum. And you have to take a Lord of War. So my choice for Lord of War is going to be a Warhound Titan. I know they're not the greatest, but it was an easy way to fill up 750 points. I actually got this model from a client a number of years ago, and it's sort of been sitting in a box unused. I've never had a use for it up until now. And I think it's a great way to basically paint a large model, have a cool centerpiece I can maybe fit in the cabinet if I rearrange the shelves a bit, and it'll be a cool project to work on. So looking forward to that. And then one of my own comps for this army was to basically use, apart from the heroes, nothing that I used for my Blood Angels. So my Blood Angels were almost all assault infantry based with some heavy tanks and then a lot of dreadnoughts for support. So I've got like 30 assault marines, I've got 30 dawnbreakers, I've got some angel tiers with jump packs and assault cannons, I've got jump pack heroes, I've got vigilators, snipers, or veteran snipers. I have a squadron of 3 predators, and then some leviathans, a jump pack, contemptor, and some daredevils. So with the wolves, my goal was to basically have no overlap and use units that I did not use with my Blood Angels. Hence, I've got my Grey Stalker squads, I've got my Seekers, I've got Recon Marines, I've got my Hip Support squad, taking a command squad, and I think it'll be a cool project to work on. I'll be exploring some quick and easy techniques. My aim is to keep the paint time down to like 1 or 2 hours per model tops. So here you can see the quality that I'm basically aiming for. It's going to be a fairly quick tabletop style, a little bit grittier than I normally do. I'm not going to be doing battle damage in the sense of like any chip weathering or scratches or anything like that, but I will be using a bit of a rougher painting technique. I'm going to be using some makeup sponges and minimal brushwork to do all the armor, and then leaning on a lot of enamels and oils, experimenting with the Goons Grime Villainy inks. Exploring the Villainy inks enamels I've picked up, in particular Goons Grime and Ichor of the Damned. You can see the paint job on the back is basically some base coats and the oil wash, really focusing all the work on the torso. I think this was done in probably about an hour, and I think this quality of paint job for an entire army would be acceptable to me for the time effort I'm putting in. There is a local Heresy event, 3,000 points, that's happening at the end of June at Lords of War, which is our local gaming store. I will be trying to get my 3,000 points painted for that. And if I can keep on that schedule, then I'm not going to be bogged down when the summer hits, because I do want to make sure that I try and knock out at the end of this year, hopefully the Seraphon, and get through some of my Marvel models as well. And I guess while I'm also discussing painted figures on tops of this test model and the Raptidon Chargers, all 10 of the steeds I painted, I've also been working on some Tau figures. So I've painted up a Commander Farsight, as well as a Ghost Keel. Got the Ghost Keel here, and then the 2 drones. This is for the charity army that I take part in and contribute to every year. The organization or the event is called the 40 Hours of 40K, and basically what we do is we get like 20 or 30 painters together, and we paint up a full 2,000 points of a 40K army that we then raffle off for charity, and all of the proceeds will go to raising awareness for and helping with men's mental health. So this year the chosen army is Tau, and these are the figures I've painted for it. Really fun models. The overall finish of these is not as high contrast as I would normally paint, and leans a lot more on bold colors and the iconic edge highlighting that Tau are typically known for. And this is largely because we have to fit towards a unified style. When you have 20 or 30 painters, obviously it becomes difficult coordinating, painting a full army across everyone. And so you need to have that defined style that everyone paints to, so that the army feels cohesive, so that whoever ends up buying it at the end has a unified force to play with. So this is my contribution. Had a lot of fun, and I think I kept these pretty quick, probably about 12 hours per figure, and that's 12 hours for the Ghost Keel, which includes the drones. I also painted up Kit Fisto and Nadar Bed for Star Wars Shatterpoint. I recorded a video series for both of these, and I haven't posted them on my socials yet because they were part of a transmission request for Atomic Mass. And so they've requested that I not release these until they've posted them to their website. So I'm just waiting for that transmission to come out for Shatterpoint, and then I can post these guys up on my content and release the video tutorial for them. Okay, and then the last parts of these display cases, I've got a large assortment of Marvel Crisis Protocol models still. Part of these were from my own collection for the starter set that I picked up, along with some odds and ends. I've got the Asgardians, the new Asgard models here. I've got some Brotherhood. I've got Squirrel Girl here. Nova, Yondu, Cassandra Nova, the Shadow King, Human Torch, and Captain America. Just some terrain from the original core set and stuff. I also have the Guardians of the Galaxy, still on sprue. I haven't built them yet, but they're the 2 new affiliation boxes that AMG sent me. So it's got all of the core Guardians, Groot, Rocket, Star-Lord, Gamora, Nebula, Drax, Ronin, as well as, I feel like I'm missing one. I don't know. But I think it'll be fun. I want to paint them up along with Nova and Yondu, along with the Asgard, just to play up the Asgardians of the Galaxy theme. It's always stuck in my head, and I can never separate the 2 of them. So I think it'll be cool to work on both of them as a collection together. I've also got some assorted Legion and Shatterpoint models here. So I've got the 3 clone troopers that came with Kit Fisto and Narved. I've got Commander Krennic, Overseer Krennic, something Krennic, along with his Stormtrooper Commandos, as well as the Sand Troopers, or Beach Troopers, I think they are. And then I've got some Legion clones as well. So I've got a Jedi Knight here, along with a squad of drone clone ARF Troopers, I think these are. I'm not as familiar with the different types of clone troopers, but I think they'll be fun to paint. I'll be experimenting with a couple of variety of armor tones. So like neutral white, cool white, warm white, and just using a bunch of different colors to build up the armor for different environments, and then using some oils and enamel washes to get some quick contrast, and recording a series on that as well, just as a way to tackle painting not clean, but like painting white armor for the tabletop quickly and cleanly without really spending too much effort in. So I think that'll be a fun project to work on and record. And then down here, I've got just some assorted Legion, Marvel, and Shatterpoint models. So I've got the new Inhuman Court, courtesy of Atomic Mass. I've got some of the Warhammer Steelwork models. I picked up 3 of them from Adepticon. I'm probably going to sell 2 of them. I'm unsure if I want to keep one to convert for my Soulblight army, or if I want to just sell all 3. I've got the new Ahsoka Tano for Legion. I think that'll be fun to paint. I think this is the Padawan, and as well as the Knight version. I've got the Cassian Andor Shatterpoint box. And then they were kind enough to send me the I Am No Jedi Deluxe pack as well. I'm likely not going to be building the kit as displayed. I like the 2 figures, but I think they could be interacting more together. So similar to how I've been treating all of the Rivals panels for Marvel Crisis Protocol for the Worthy entries. So I did Doc Ock and Spider-Man my first year. I did Killmonger and T'Challa for my most recent one. I think I want to redesign or reimagine this duel, bring the figures together, and make a cool, very dynamic diorama. I think that'll be a fun project to work on. I don't really have a timeline for that yet, though. But definitely something I want to work on throughout the year. So yeah, that's my cue. And then on my painting table for the next couple of weeks is going to be a couple of commission projects. I've got this cool Iron Man figure for a collector. He's looking to have this painted up in the studio box art style. I will be making some tweaks, mainly to the skin tone, to have a bit of separation from the armor and the gold, but for the most part, we're following the box art palette. And then I've also got this Dune Strider for a long-term Mechanicum commission project. So I've still got 3 breachers to build up and paint for this, so I'm probably going to build those up and paint them all simultaneously because of the same colors. And then I have that local heresy event that's happening on June 28th. So I'll be working on my wolves simultaneously alongside that, hopefully try and get much of that knocked out as quickly as possible. And then in terms of my content that I want to be putting out, so for May, I'll be releasing the final videos for the Marvel Timeline Trophy, the Thanos versus his daughters. I believe I uploaded the building video already, so I've got the painting video and the retrospective. I've also got the video tutorial for the Raptidon Chargers ready to release, and then whenever AMG puts up the transmission for Kit Fisto and Adar Veb, I'll have that tutorial out as well. Depending on how the recordings go and when I get to painting them. I'm not sure if I'll do the Clone Troopers as part of that kit as part of that series, or whether it will be all wrapped up in a separate video covering those various types of white using the enamel and oil washes. So I'll figure that out, but that'll be also in the queue. I've also gotten a couple of requests from people, and I've messaged them directly on Patreon as well, just to let them know that yes, I've seen the request and I am putting it in the queue. But I've gotten questions on how to do display boards, and not just giving ideas, but how to dive into the entire process, how to build them, paint them, figure out the narrative, the framing, the composition, and all that. So I will be releasing a number of tutorials soon. I don't know when yet. I'll spend a couple diving into boards I've already made, the thought process behind them, and how I've basically planned and built those to pair with the armies that they were meant for. And then for my own projects, I will be making new boards as well. So depending on what I sign up for Adepticon next year, I'm probably going to have either an Age of Sigmar board or a Marvel board. If I end up going for Age of Sigmar, I will probably be bringing my Soulblight. It depends on how I get painted, so I'll be building a board for that, like an Undead Keep. Or if we're doing Marvel, then I'll be doing a Marvel board, probably for the 2v2 again. So we'll have that. And then I probably want to do one for my Space Wolves whenever I collect them. Not for the 30k one, but Games Workshop is releasing a whole slew of stuff for 40k. So whether I actually end up playing 40k or not and building a full army for that or not, I still want to pick up all of the new wolves, and I'll probably build a nice little diorama display for that as well. So that'll be cool. I'm looking forward to working on those. And then, of course, working on my Worthy and Golden Demon entries, start getting those queued up and working on them throughout the year. So I'm going with the assumption that I will be attending Adepticon next year, unless, heaven forbid, something happens with Trump and either with the trade war or whatever that makes it impossible or a big challenge to go. So our group will be playing that by ear, but for now, our assumption and expectation is that we will be attending in 2026. I had to think about the year for a second there. But yeah, so that concludes this video. A little bit longer because I had to spend a lot more time diving into sort of what I've got going on back here, as well as covering up some longer term projects, and hopefully moving forward, each of my vlogs for the months ahead will just be shorter updates covering what I painted the month before and what I've got lined up for the month ahead. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for support. And oh, one more thing, I will be looking to figure out the technicals for doing personal, it's not training. We'll call it training for now. My brain is, it's firing now, but personal training. So I'll be releasing a new tier hopefully within the next month or two, once I figure out exactly how I'm doing it. Once I sort out the camera stuff and the microphone stuff, we'll be getting that sorted. So, yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for your support. And until next time, happy hobbying.